That's because I said Justin Trudeau should be beaten to the stick.
For fuck's sake, Tom.
We're live now.
Oh,
well,
sorry.
that's the intro. That's the intro, guys. Whatever Tom said about Justin Trudeau is the intro. Welcome everyone to episode 9 of our podcast.
That's so funny.
Tom, we just told everybody not to speak, and Tom just piped up in the background. Very professional. I wonder if that came through on the stream.
That's so funny.
Well,
Sorry.
That's brilliant. Welcome everyone. Get in the chat. Get asking questions. Input. Call Tom an idiot. Do whatever you want. Tom's a moderator of the chat, so if you call him an idiot, he won't ban you.
He might.
No, he won't.
If you're interested,
Right. So
if you're interested
before we intro everybody here, an absolute bombshell has just happened. Literally, just before we went on live, Tom's account got suspended.
Oh,
Tom, tell
Right.
everybody why you got suspended.
I think he just told us.
Well, he
Okay,
was in the process of telling us.
Oh, sorry, I've got the
So-
giggles. That's funny.
So there was a tweet today which said Justin Trudeau has asked Joe Biden for support about the 2 Canadian citizens that are arrested in China, believed to be spies, that were arrested after Meng, the director of Huawei, was arrested. It was like a tit for tat thing. And I responded to that saying, Justin Trudeau is a rabid dog, he must be beaten to death with a stick. Which is obviously just quoting, well, it's just quoting North Korean news. So I thought that would be fine. It's just a joke, isn't it? Like, I'm not gonna beat Justin Trudeau to death with a stick, but Twitter doesn't agree with that and thinks that I am being violent and I'm engaging in targeted harassment of somebody. So Justin Trudeau.
Yeah. I mean, because he's definitely seen that and been very offended by it, I'm sure.
Madness.
And then it says here, note that if you attempt to evade a permanent suspension by creating new accounts, we will suspend your new accounts. If you wish to appeal the suspension, please contact our support team. So I don't know whether shall I appeal it?
No, just make another account in true Tom fashion.
Try and
fuck it,
appeal
we'll go
it.
account number 8. No, we'll go account number 8 because fuck these guys. And this can be a get Tom.
Account number 8. You're keeping up with the amount of episodes we're doing here. Right.
Yeah, 1 account per episode.
I'm going to go through
I'll get a new
everyone.
account.
We have got with us tonight, we've got Sammy as normal. Sammy, say hello.
Hello, everyone. It's me again.
Nice. We've got Tom.
Yeah, I would drop my Twitter handle, but I don't have one. Hi guys.
We've got Harrison.
Hello, everyone. I'm back. How's it going?
Nice. And we've got
Thank you.
Zena.
Hi everyone, it's me again.
Awesome. What an awesome group of people. Before we start the show tonight, I want to put a question to you all, and I have pulled up an account to go with this. So I want you to all pick a Twitter account that you want to recommend everybody to follow. And what we'll do is we'll drop these accounts in the YouTube. We'll drop these accounts in the YouTube chat. I've just got mine ready. So I'd like to recommend. You boys are going to kill me for this. I'm not a weeb, but I want to recommend Quai Socialist, which is a new account that's just popped up. Well, I think it's been around since October, but it's just popped up to my knowledge in the last week. They make little cartoons about socialism and what's going on. They've got a few about Bolivia. We've got one about Huawei. We've got a few about Julian Assange, John Pillager.
Am I allowed to drop 2?
No.
Jesus Christ! Give someone an inch and they take a mile, don't they? So anyway,
Give me one of them, Sam, and I'll say.
my recommendation is Quai Socialist. I've dropped a link in the YouTube chat there. If you're not following them, guys, make sure you follow them too. Awesome account that we want to get big. Sammy,
Yes.
your turn. Recommend a Twitter account for us all to follow, and
Right. There's this.
send me that handle and I'll put it in the YouTube chat.
Okay, we'll do. Hang on. Let me just make sure the thing. Yeah, here we go. There's this amazing person. She's Algerian. She is quite communist, basically. Her name is Selma. She tweets mostly about what's going on in Palestine and Lebanon, as well as like on and off tweets about Algeria. But also, she's an amazing source just for like staying updated on what's going on in that region with regards to Hezbollah especially and the Palestinian resistance. So yeah, brilliant person.
What's their handle?
It's Selma-77. Shall I spell it out?
Yeah, spell it, and I'll write it into the chat. So is that SELMA?
Yes. HAIFA.
HAIFA
77.
That's it.
Yes.
There we go. That's Sammy's recommendation. You had 2, so I'm gonna.
I sent one to Fran.
I'm gonna to Harrison. I'm gonna be. Oh, is Harrison gonna do it? Okay. Harrison, you introduce your pick. Sammy's.
My pick is there's an account called Night Raven Duya. I'm joking.
Turn yourself up a little bit.
Wait.
We're getting reports in the chat that you're a little bit quiet on stream, Sammy. So just turn yourself up a little.
Okay.
Wait, me or Sammy?
Sammy.
Sammy.
Sammy. So you're recommending? No, you're not recommending Night Raven. Don't look up Night Raven, people.
Is that better, guys?
Please,
If you
no,
tell us
Raven.
No, my recommendation will be whatever Tom calls himself next on Twitter.
Thank you.
That's cute, isn't it?
Because he's one of the best accounts and he's been treated very unfairly by the capitalist monopoly that is Twitter. So
What,
yeah, go
Twitter has been tweeting Tom very unfairly.
Yeah, go follow him whenever he sets his account up. I'll be sure to tweet it out. So
Fran, check your Twitter DM.
Check my DM.
Yeah.
Are we recommending this as well?
Yes.
Oh, you want me to recommend this?
Yes.
Can't you just recommend it?
Well,
You've
I
sent
thought
it me.
that we're only allowed one. Anyway.
Yeah, but Fran's
you
already
have
said that.
2, Sammy. You can be special for this 1 week, and you can have 2. So you recommend this second one. Go ahead.
How kind of you. So another great account, basically talking about Arab, the history of Arab socialism, as well as general anti-imperialism. Brilliant account. It's called Arab Revolutionaries. Spelling it out is Jabhat al-Shabiya, which is, well, I'll just copy paste it in the chat. There's no point
There we
spelling
go.
it out.
I've put it in the chat. There we go.
There.
It's in the chat. So there's Sammy's 2. I'm just going down the chat, and it looks like you're next, Tom.
Yeah, I will drop an ask in just a sec, but one of you is going to have to check it for me because of, you know.
All right. Well, while you're checking, go on. Tell us now.
But also, I just want to ask: does any of you have a spare phone number that I can verify this shit with? I've used both my parents now, so
I
only
actually,
accounts have been through.
You're gonna have to go out and buy a SIM card.
no. I've got a spare phone number. I'll sort it with you after the stream.
Awesome.
Wonderful,
Awesome.
wonderful.
Do you know this app?
Okay, so, right. So the account I'm gonna drop is, I think his name is @the_True_Tank or @True_Tank_Man.
Oh right. Okay. Yes. At the True Tank Man. Yes.
Yeah, he's been one of my like mutual followers since like account number 1. Now, hopefully on account number 9, we'll see. And basically, he's just been a consistently good poster about Chinese politics, Chinese history, and he's very knowledgeable about like Confucianism and stuff. He teaches me stuff about like Chinese Confucianism and Taoism and stuff that like I didn't even learn in university. So he's a really good source for all that kind of stuff. And if you're not following him already, you should be. That's my recommendation.
I'm following him.
Yeah.
Same.
Of course you are.
Oh, yeah. By the way, I also got a follower. Like,
Yes.
yeah, a Twitter account. I would suggest everyone to follow. Like, he's a Uyghur.
Just give me 1 second. I'm just gonna bring in our recording bot. It's gonna make a noise.
Now
Okay.
recording.
Okay, Zena, you go on. Give us your recommendation.
His name's Tersam Ali. Like, he's a real Uyghur, not the fake one. I don't know
yeah.
where they're from Washington or something. Yeah, but Tersam Ali, he's definitely a Uyghur from Xinjiang, and he always gives a good perspective from real Uyghur Xinjiang people. So I suggest everyone to follow him and follow his updates. But of course, like he mostly posted Chinese instead of English. I mean, you can always use Google Translate to translate his his tweets. So yeah, like he's a great guy to follow.
I've just dropped his @ in the chat, which is Andre Pa 9517213. That's Turson.
Yeah,
He actually follows me. I didn't know he was following me. That's pretty good.
Oh,
Nice.
No, who follows me too?
People are asking why he went to Twitter jail, Tom. You know, because he said bad things. Because he said bad things.
Because I suggested that Justin Trudeau should be. I suggested that what the North Korean state media said about Joe Biden should be attributed directly to Justin Trudeau in the same manner, and Twitter took that as a threat against Justin Trudeau's life, apparently.
I have told you, Tom, many a time to tone it down.
I know.
But you never listen.
Never listen. Never listen.
If I toned it down, it wouldn't be me, would it?
No. That's true.
Sammy, what
No
are we?
self-censorship.
What are we talking about tonight, Sammy?
Well, today, ladies and gentlemen, we are discussing China's latest 5-year plan, going on it point by point, as well as discussing what we can expect, or what prospects in a negative sense, really, of a Biden presidency could be. And we're discussing what turning points he might take in terms of US foreign policy, and more.
Interesting. Is there any quick news before we jump straight in? Does anyone want to bring anything up?
Well,
wait, I've got some news that many people might not know.
Well, go on.
Some guy called Joe Biden won the American election.
Oh, really?
He's not won yet, though, has he?
Well,
he's not won.
Technically not, I guess.
It's annoying me on Twitter because every time I go on and see the trending stuff, it says like Joe Biden is the prospected.
Yeah, I think because in America, like the official thing is like when the media reports it, as soon as they kind of report it, it's done deal. It's kind of weird, but yeah, the Electoral College obviously need to do their thing. But yeah.
Well, Mike Pompeo, the big fat piggy bastard, is talking about how Trump's going to have a second term. Mike, if you're listening, I meant that. Yeah.
I'm not going to comment because I'll get too violent, but I'd like to echo Fran's sentiments.
Mm-hmm. Now, he said that he kind of looks a bit shaken in that speech, like as if he's projecting.
He seems a bit nervous as well.
Yeah, like he's a bit nervous, like he's shook, and he's just saying things. He's going to get fired as soon as. Anyway, we'll come back to American circus, the Circus of America later. Zena, introduce this 5-year plan. What it is, what it's all about.
Yeah, sure. I'm just gonna give a brief introduction of the 5-year plan.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not sure if people in many socialist countries they do have 5-year plan, including ex-Soviet Union and also DPRK. I think the Soviet Union had the first 5-year plan back in the 1930s. But in the 1953, China has the first 5-year plan, basically just to adopt the Soviet economic model and to centralize economic planning. The first 5-year plan is a huge success, I think, for China. But like it also definitely with the help of the Soviet Union. But like unfortunately, the second one, which we will know, like we did have the Great Leap Forward. Everyone knows that one. So that's basically also there's a lot of things happen during that time. So that's a huge mess during that time.
How many 5-year plans are they up to now?
So this year is basically like the 14th.
Yeah, 14.
Wow. It's the 14th already. And I think the second one, which is the from 1958 to up until 1962, that's the only one which didn't meet up the plan. otherwise, the most of the plans on either China already finished like in time, or they just like finish earlier. Yeah, I think
That's
we
pretty
should
amazing.
know.
That, to be fair, isn't it? That only one out of how many? 1 out of 15.
14.
14.
That's
Yeah.
pretty good stats.
Yeah, definitely. But I think like people should know like the 5-year plan is not like very rigid, like very fixed. It's basically just outline to tell to give an introduction, like an outline for people to follow, for our country to follow. And I think it's very complicated. It's been like sometimes like they're gonna introduce the 5-year plan this year. They're gonna have some research and something else like to gather information from different experts. Definitely will be like 3 to 4 years beforehand. They're gonna just to gather information to do a broad and rich research in related fields about like how we're gonna determine our country's life. I mean, in the next 5 years. So it's really important, which is very different from our countries, especially for those democratic countries. I mean, in most democratic countries, like let's say the United States, they always have like change the president every 4 years. And I mean, they basically change their plan. They don't really have the plan. I don't really know. They have like even they have 8 years plan.
Yeah, well, they don't really have a plan to change. They just change the president and make it look like. Before you go into this, Tom, what you were saying there, Zena, about countries having 5-year plans. Even Russia has like 10-year planning, and it's like you say, it's very loose. It's just like goals to hit. Go on, Tom.
Yeah, I think what Zena said there was really good as well. Like the China's 5-year plans are based on science. They come from scientists, doctors, engineers, and peasants as well in the field. Agricultural workers. Literally asking the people what kind of goals are achievable, and then saying, what do we need to provide to you to increase those yields or whatever. And it's like that. So it's all based on material analysis rather than how the US or the UK does it, where there's just kind of slogans. Like there was a really good point by, I think it was Chen Weihua, but when he was talking about the 5-year plan, and he said, America lives and dies by slogans. It goes what was Obama's "Yes, we can" or something like that.
Change or hope or whatever.
Hope for change or whatever Obama's was. There was a
before Zena goes into what she's going to say. Hold on. I just want to say, Zach, in the chat, we've got somebody said the American 5-year plan is just trying to get elected. It's so true.
Yeah.
It's not even 5-year plan; it's 4-year plan.
4-year plan, yeah.
Well, they do spend a year like working on it as well, so he's kind of right. It's a
5-year plan.
I think that's just like.
Oh, I was just trying to give a specific example of how China conduct the 5-year planning. So let's say like since the end of 2018, Tianjin, that's one city in China. Like the Tianjin Development and Reform Commission has openly solicited more than 120 topics for the preliminary research of the 14th 5-year plan for the public, and 35 municipal departments covering economic development, public services, infrastructure, social undertaking, etc. So that's basically how we do 5-year plan. It's definitely based on, as Tom said, it's basically based on economic, material conditions and so forth. Yeah.
And like every single
just
one
to
of
put
China's,
yes.
Every single one of China's.
Right, hold on. Zena, you finish what you were saying, and then we'll go into Tom.
No, I was just trying to say like you just have to. I always trying to put the 5-year plan into perspective. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was
Tom,
just
go
saying
ahead.
sorry, I was just saying like also one of the things that China always includes in its 5-year plans is an economic growth point which it aims to achieve. So whereas the UK and the USA and all of the capitalist economies rely on the free market and the guiding hand that they kind of impose upon it with their restrictions and stuff. China's economy is literally planned down to the percentage point, and they say, okay, by 2025 we wish to attain I think 10% growth or something like that, and they alter the growth levels based on how much kind of like military spending they need for that 5-year plan and how much public spending they need for that 5-year plan. So obviously there's going to be less growth in years when they do larger public spending kind of ventures, which is like it's quite it's a lot more intelligent than the way we do our economy, for example, where we just kind of hope a pile of money is big enough to fund the crazy things that our government wants to do at the time for populism purposes.
Which is more like handing it to private
absolutely.
companies.
Yeah, it's more about stripping the state of cash in the world, isn't it? It's about transferring that state fund to private entities, especially in neoliberalism. Since Thatcher's been around, most Western, I mean, not so much in Europe, but definitely the UK and the USA, it's all about tax breaks for the rich and how to sell off state services to the rich, isn't it? I mean, if we look at the UK these days, we've got no libraries, we've got buses are all private owned, medical treatments becoming more and more privatized, you name it. Fire service is getting cuts, there's less police. I mean, even the police are complaining about not being able to do their jobs properly. Teachers are having to buy their own supplies for kids in the school, so they're having to buy like copybooks. Class size has gone up. Some classes are like 50 pupils, which you can't teach it.
And what's the percentage of children living in below the poverty line now? 30%?
Well, that's shooting up, isn't it? What was that in 2008? Go on, you talk and I will find this out.
Well, before COVID hit in 2019, it was 30%. Imagine 30% of children in the UK were living in poverty, and that's not even mentioning. Was it how many hundreds of thousands of people homeless? Well, there was a certain
homelessness is just shooting up in this country, isn't it? Especially in the West, America as well.
Yeah. And also, I think it was 4 million people being dependent on food banks as well.
Yeah, and also a record high of redundancies, right, during the second lockdown.
Yes.
I think like 400,000 people losing their jobs or something crazy. I think, employment rates like on track to hit 5%, and is only going to rise. So yeah,
I think the best example of economic planning we can see in China is what they did and planned ever since the beginning of COVID, when it started, from the lockdowns, not only the lockdowns, but the support mechanisms and support networks they set up to support their citizens and to support
overnight as well.
Yeah, and overnight to support their citizens financially, like their mental well-being as well. It's just crazy, really, when you look at it. But obviously,
hold on, we've got a comment in the chat here that says US poverty line is around 40% plus 60 million people, plus 60 million plus people who are in trouble of losing their homes as well. 60 million. That's quite a big chunk of American society.
Well, that's that's 20%, right? Roughly, off the top of my head.
20% homeless.
Obviously, yeah.
I think like all of these things we've been picking up here just proves why a centrally planned economy is the superior way.
Hang on, Tom, you're quite low. Let me just deal with that bit.
Sorry, is that any better?
This is a bit better, yeah.
Right. Basically, what I was saying is just like it just proves that a centrally planned economy is more efficient than any kind of free market capitalist economy, because they always rely on populism. The populism of the political elite in power. Like if you look at how oil prices changed based on Joe Biden's victory and stuff like that, it's all fucked. But that wouldn't happen in China. You wouldn't have oil prices changing because there was a political struggle with the Politburo, because these things just don't happen. they're all done behind the scenes, where out of the public eye, they're not a big public spectacle, and as such, they don't have such a massive effect on the economy, which I think is why as well China's economy has rebounded massively from COVID. It didn't even go below 2% growth. Zena, what was the lowest? Do you know the lowest growth point this year for China? About 2 or 3%.
2 or 3%.
Yeah.
You mean quarterly or?
I think it was somewhere around that region. But at the same time, the lowest growth point for the UK was minus 23%. Lowest for the US was minus 12%.
23. Yeah,
like,
that's a lot as well, isn't it? 23%. Like
India also took a huge hit to their economy. And if you look, it's basically all the centrally planned economies can recover from a crisis like COVID because they're built with resilience. They're built with science in mind. They're built with engineers. They're built with scientists. They're built with doctors. Whereas in the UK, the USA, and the capitalist economies, they're built with corrupt politicians who are either idiots like Boris Johnson and Donald Trump, or politically savvy warmongers like Joe Biden. You don't really get or Tony Blair. You don't really get like a kind of alternative.
Right,
hold on, because you've all got a point to make here. So Zena, what were you going to say first?
I was trying to say, like, at the beginning of this year, because of the pandemic, I think the growth rate in China was like 2 to 3%, and afterwards, you just.
I think Mike's gone again.
No, I can hear Zena.
I can hear Zena.
I think that's just you.
Sorry.
Yeah, is that it, Zena? Because next up is Harrison. If you're finished.
Yeah, I think recently, like, I just rebound back again. It's back to normal. Like, maybe let me see.
So it's dropped and gone back to normal in less than a year. And this is a country that sacrificed their economy to deal with COVID as well. Not just like tried to save it like over here. Harrison?
No, I was just going to say that it's obviously an example of the mass line, right? What Mao spoke about, consulting the masses and kind of interpreting that within a Marxist, Leninist, socialist kind of viewpoint and applying that to the economy. It's the same thing with these 5-year plans, obviously. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say, really. It's just an example of kind of that
socialist government
of that working. Like, yeah, it is mass line. Like, it might annoy the Maoists to say that, but it is.
Well, it's an example of mass collectivism, isn't it? Which that is the mass line.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Everybody pulling in the right direction is what.
Like Mao started the 5-year plan, of course, and so that's what I want to say on that, really.
Sammy?
Yeah, I just wanted to say, maybe on a deeper level, it's basically same as what Tom was saying, but on a deeper level, it's more like the anarchy of the free market. You have nothing organized whatsoever. Basically, the economy is organized to serve profits. As Mao said, capitalism is where profits are in command, or as Engels put, is where, can't remember, what was the quote? Yeah, where production is carried out as preliminary transformation into capital. Whereas, like, as we've seen in China, the economy is managed, regulated to serve public good and not profits.
Which is, if anybody thinks that China doesn't do that, only has to have a look at their response to COVID and how they literally just shut down everything and suspended the entire economy to save those people.
Not only lockdown, but also created the amount of effort they put into support to building up support frameworks for families, for working people, and for small businesses.
What also needs to be remembered as well.
Hold on, go on, Tom. You finish up. Go on.
What also needs to be remembered, talking about like the COVID response, finishing up about it, is they only had to deal with about a 4-week lockdown in Wuhan. I think it was about a month or maybe 2 months. It was a fairly long lockdown, but in like looking at how long we've been under COVID conditions in the UK now, a whole year with spontaneous lockdowns. I've been under local lockdown in Liverpool. We're under national lockdown again. China resolved their situation within a month or a month and a half, and it was done. And that everyone went from calling China authoritarian and evil for locking down to acknowledging that was necessary, and then calling China liars, saying, "Oh, it's impossible. You can't only have 8,000 deaths. It's not. There's no way." It's just
they still say that now as well.
They still, and they still say that. Well, they were saying that that track and tracing was authoritarian. And I mean, kind of we're pinning our final hope on that, and obviously the vaccine too. So like, it's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But yeah, like
even the app in the
Sorry,
UK, even the app in the UK is for profit. The government have tendered that out for profit, haven't they?
yeah, they'll be selling that data.
Well,
100%.
well, it's been developed for profit. You know, it's gone through a full tender. Like, this is one thing about the West that's pissed me off, to be frank. They've made out that they can't have this app, and like Sammy said a minute ago, China had an app overnight that, like, if you wanted to get on a bus, you had to use the app. Now, people in Britain, I'm not using that app because I know that half the country also aren't using it, so it's almost pointless for me to dip my toe into that whole world of giving all my data over to Serco. So like, I'm not one of these like anti-maskers, but I'm also not just gonna willingly have Serco tracking everything I do on my phone just because the government want to make out like they're doing something. Right, so enough about here. Let's actually look into what this 5-year plan in China means. So Zena, do you want to talk about what's actually on the cards?
I think the most important one is the one to basically achieve socialist modernization. That's one of the priorities for China's next 5-year plan. And I'm just gonna list out several important ones. The first one will be realize sustained and healthy economic development.
Mm-hmm.
And that's basically very continuous. And also prioritize the development of agriculture and rural areas and fully advance rural vitalization. Yeah.
Nice. So if we're looking at those first two, going off just those first two, I'm getting a sense that these are like, you know, things that make the state stronger for the people already, and that's just the first two.
Yeah. Well, basically the first one, realizing sustained and healthy economic development, is what I spoke about before. It's their defined economic growth target in percentage points, but they don't actually release that until 2 or 3 years into the 5-year plan, because they don't want to be ridiculously over the top and say, you know, okay, we're going to achieve 10% and then it's a really bad year because there's an earthquake and they can only achieve 7%. So they do edit that figure about halfway through the plan, but then it's public knowledge about 2.5 years. Is it halfway through, Zena, or
Sorry?
Is it halfway through the plan when they announce like the specifics of it? Is it?
Sorry, I cannot get that. You mean like because the next plan will start in 2021.
What you're saying is, right, China don't release any of these sort of economic numbers until they're a couple of years into the plan, and they can sort of predict accurately the rest of the plan, rather than just like give some arbitrary number and try and hit it. They will let the economy work, and then plan on growth.
I cannot really confirm that one, because like it's kind of it feels like it sounds like something not really put on table.
Okay, right, yeah. Well,
yeah.
There we go.
I'm just I want to like basically more like emphasize the one, improve the national administration systems. The role of the government will be better played.
Read that one again.
That one's improve the national administration systems. The role of the government will be better played.
Okay.
So yeah, I think this one will be also very important for our socialist model.
And so that means, in my head, just make the government more efficient, which is one of the bonuses of having an authoritarian, because that's what authoritarianism is. It's just this central planning. When like we've spoke about with capitalism, the opposite to authoritarianism is libertarianism, individualism, which is what the West has with their free market. Sammy mentioned that the economic conditions are just open to the free market, and whatever happens, and we'll deal with it when we get to it. Whereas this central planning is the authoritarianism that Mike Pompeo talks about, because this central planning doesn't allow capitalists to to play God in the background with the economy, to skim off the top, like what you see with Wall Street bankers hedging their bets on certain investments and stuff. What we're looking at now, these 5-year plans, stop that. And like with the first 2 ones we read out then, they're really for the people. They wouldn't work otherwise. That's how you maintain mass support. The next one, enhance the social etiquette and civility. Core socialist values shall be embraced by the people. Now,
I like that.
That's hitting the nail on the head, isn't it? That's what you want to see from a country building socialism.
I think, can I just make an intervention here?
Of course.
I think this might have been a lesson they learned from Hong Kong, I believe, because as we've seen with the rise of colour revolutions throughout Eastern Europe, well, basically most of the world really, in Eastern Europe, the Middle East, the Arab Spring, as you can see right now in some places in Southeast Asia as well, like, I think they acknowledge that there's a threat of like soft power manipulation coming from these NGOs that play into the minds of especially young people. So I think they have included this in the latest 5-year plan to really consolidate collective values within their youth as well. Therefore, also like strengthening the country as a whole and making it less susceptible to destabilization. Speaking of which, like as we have seen, Mike Pompeo has delisted ETIM, which is basically an ISIS affiliate. They have delisted them from the terrorism list.
Mm-hmm. Well, just while we're talking about this compared to the USA, regardless to their foreign actions, the USA is hardly stable right now, is it? This fits in with both of them. So the improvement in the national administration system and this social etiquette and civility, none of these things apply to America whatsoever. They're not civil, are they? They don't act civil. Their election is a joke. That's the only way I can sort of sum it up.
It's been an entire week, and there officially is not a winner yet.
Yes, but the media are claiming there are. Like a media, we all know under capitalism that like 3 people own the media. For them to declare the winners, just sort of shows how how much power the media has over there. Right, I'm a bit confused with this next one. Speed up the dual circulation strategy. Can one of you explain this?
Yeah.
Okay. Tommy, go ahead. Tom, go ahead.
Okay, so this is one of Xi Jinping's new theories, and this is actually probably one of the most important parts of the plan. It doesn't look like it, but this is probably one of the most important parts. For dual circulation, basically, it's the theory of creating internal supply markets so that you reduce reliance on external supply markets.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Basically, what it's saying is, it's basically Xi's saying, if we create a more but the dual circulation also, because that would be singular circulation if you just were to be like kind of just in for your internal markets. But Xi's dual circulation, he's saying he's going to put more emphasis on both the internal markets, the national markets, whilst taking, so much emphasis off exporting and, outside trade, and focusing on inside trade within China's borders. And it's basically to combat the risk of US encirclements and stuff, which would, not the Cold War, the trade war that they recently had, where they were able to just kind of ban Chinese goods at a whim, and China suffered economic hits from that trade war. There was no clearly defined winner, but China's acknowledged now that it doesn't want to be able to take any kind of damage like that again. So it's put this into its 5-year plan to. The fact that they're stating this is one of the main key goals is very important, I think. But I don't know whether Zena puts so much emphasis on that as I do, but I think it's quite important personally.
Yeah, I think Tom is absolutely right, because recent, especially after Trump, there's a lot of hostility towards China, and also the international market is not really foreseeable, especially after the pandemic. So also that's why this 5-year plan quite focused on this dual circulation. Yeah, And also one thing about the dual circulation is basically to trying to add more jobs, more to rack up the employment within China's border as well.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the priorities. And just want to bring one fact. I think starting from this year, there's a lot of government occupations being open to more people. That's from my personal experience. Like they used to have limited occupations, like positions for employees. But right now they open more more spaces for more people. That's kind of like to increase the employment as well. That's one way.
Okay. There are Chinese brands that just are beating Western ones nowadays, and you've only got to look at how the US have treated Huawei, haven't you, to see this?
I think I just have a question for both Tom and Zena. Do you guys think that this latest 5-year plan is like trying to finish off the first stage of building socialism in China, or is this like an initiation of the second stage, which is or is it like the first stage? Is it the completion of the first stage, which is socialist modernization, before they start the second stage, which I forgot what the name is really?
I think Sammy brought up a very good question. So I just want to bring about one news which posted the Financial Times, and it's basically said China's market regulator has taken its first major step towards curbing the monopolistic power of its tech giants. And as you said, like in maybe past 20 years, there's some kind of market, and there's some companies, very big Chinese giant tech companies. They're going towards a very monopolistic trend. So as Sammy said, it's definitely, as you said, like the social modernization, because after all, we're still a socialist country. So I wouldn't say, like, I cannot confirm it's like the first stage or the second stage of socialist model. I would just say like China is definitely leaning towards that direction to be a more definitely
got stronger since Xi Jinping came back in, hasn't it?
Of course, in the vision for 2035, it does say that China will finish building a modernized socialist economy. Obviously, that's quite a big point to what Samuel was referring to. Just wanted to add that.
Thomas?
I think to rely so much on the the academic idea of the initial stages of socialism, that was written in Mao's time, and it was an analysis of the class conditions of the time, and Mao analysed correctly that China was in the immature stage of socialism, he called it, and that's why the redevelopment of a capitalist style market economy was necessary in Mao's eyes. Mao actually said this. He defended Deng Xiaoping, not during the Cultural Revolution, but prior.
New Democracy, you mean, right?
It was in New Democracy, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Thank you for sourcing that for me there, so I don't get called out.
Of course.
But but basically the point being is that how I would see it is you've got like the stage where you had Mao build in China, and in one way you could call that the first stage of socialism, the true reunification of all of the fractured lands, the true centralization of power, and the many mistakes and successes Mao made. And then the next stage would be Deng's market economy. That's when China went from being an agrarian nation to a powerhouse world superpower by accident, without even wanting to be. It just couldn't stop its growth from continuing to grow, essentially. And I think now with Xi Jinping, you're noticing a very clear shift in the wind. And as Harrison pointed out with that specific point about the market economy by 2035, the socialist market economy, that will be. They don't want to give a date because they're not populists. They're not saying to their masses, we're going to make China great again by 2035. They
don't need to win an election, do they?
Exactly. They don't need to say these populist things. and they don't need to lie. So they'll say to the people, right, we will have this socialist market economy by 2050. She thinks by 2030. So, you know, I'm up there for believing she, because I think he's you know, kind of very, very intelligent man about Marxism. He's got a
well, I'm going to believe him
PhD in
over
it.
any Western
Of course. Yeah.
politician. I mean, like everybody, even the people who vote right wing in the West know that politicians. You have any conversation with a Westerner about politics, and they're all the same. They all just do nothing. You know, this is the view that Westerners have over politicians, which is very true to Western politicians, and they also use that to project onto China as well.
Yeah, well, no one trusts politicians here yet. They will believe the propaganda against China. It doesn't really make sense, does it? Like, it's kind of a paradox, really.
Exactly. That's what I'm trying to get at. There's like but you know, they both go hand to glove, don't they? And it makes sense because people don't trust Westerners. It's easy for them to sow that distrust about others as well. But you know, if you speak to Chinese people, they are, what is it? What's the statistic? 85%?
85.
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like that's quite true, because like even for the 5-year plan, I think majority of Chinese will believe the 5-year plan will be achieved instead of like just staggering. Yeah, well, like sometimes.
Hold on, I'm reading this 5-year plan now. I've got it up. It looks exactly like when Western politicians have a manifesto for election. That's what it looks like to me. Let's just go into the next one, because we've got another 10 points on this. The next one on this list. Hold on,
one sec, because this is funny. Because Sammy obviously just said that 78% of China trust the government, and
95%.
Yeah, but the first link I clicked on for like if Westerners trust their politicians, it's 78% distrust the politicians. So I just thought that was funny.
Exactly, and only 1/3 of people in the West go out to vote. Like there was only 100 million people voting in the US election. That's like that's a third of Americans. Was it 150 in the end?
That was like one of the biggest,
just under
in
half.
history.
Yeah, it was one of the biggest in history. I mean, like same with Britain. Only 1/3 of people vote. Right. The next one on this plan should please Greta Thunberg, but she's too busy palling up to Josh Wong. The next one on here says, "Make new progress in building an ecological civilization." Well, that one speaks for itself, doesn't it? That's combating climate change. Something that she has been very big on since coming in on 2012 is the environment. I think he said something, I can't remember, it's been a long time since I've read Governance of China 1, but he says something about humans and nature should be harmonious, which I think is a really, just that says it all, doesn't it?
Yeah, I just want to point out like the environmental sector is basically one of the priorities of Xi's administration.
Exactly.
Yeah,
it's a very big part of it, isn't it? I remember this in Governance of China 1. Hold on, Tom, we'll come to you. Go on, Tom, now.
Just to point out, China has the largest solar park in the world, the largest hydroelectric power dam in the world, and China plants 100 million trees a year. They turn deserts green.
I've seen this video of the trees as well, by the way. PLA soldiers out planting trees. American soldiers go around shooting kids in kids farming in the Middle East, whereas PLA soldiers go planting trees to fight climate change. As I mentioned Greta and her affiliation with Josh Wong, she's made tweets about and comments about how China's the biggest polluter in the world and stuff. It's utter rubbish. That proves that she is just a shill for these Western companies, because if she was really into the truth, she would see this news. I can see it. She can see it. This news is written in English. So yeah, Greta's a bit of a tool, poor lass. I don't mean tool as in idiot. I mean tool as in she's being used.
She is.
Go on, Sammy. What were you going to say?
You just reminded me of what a conversation I was having with one of my previous flatmates. Basically, I was telling him how China is literally turning deserts into Greenland.
Yeah, this is what I'm talking about.
The thing is, wait, the thing is, he studies zoology, yeah? He told that he wasn't convinced that this is a good thing because he told me, quote, it's not a good thing because the deserts will just go somewhere else. I'm like, oh, you're a university student.
Where will they go? To Beijing?
I don't know.
Might as well. Right, next one. Achieve fuller and higher quality employment. Now, I think you might have touched on that a little bit, Zena, already. The first thing, as a socialist, the first thing you want to see is that there are jobs for people to go into. Whilst people in the West are losing their jobs on a massive rate because of the pandemic, employment is skyrocketing across Europe. It is skyrocketing in the USA. I read something, I found this out earlier. I was listening to All Gas No Brakes on H3. I don't really listen to H3, but I do like All Gas No Brakes. So I was listening to him being interviewed, and he was talking about how the rent in the USA that's suspended at the minute, when the government decides that suspension is up, the tenants owe what for the time that they've been in suspension as well.
So it's cumulative.
This is how ridiculous it is in the USA. This is.
Are you kidding me?
I'm not kidding you. So he said if it goes on for 5 months where these people don't pay rent for 5 months,
they'll get a huge fucking bill.
Yeah, they'll be liable for 5 months rent at the end of the furlough. So the West and employment and housing is not a joke. Achieve fuller and higher quality employment. Higher quality employment means safer workplaces. It means, better workplace regulations, better protections for workers. I'm all on board on that one. I don't think we really need to go into that.
By the way, I just want to add some point on that one. It says achieve fuller and higher quality employment. And I just want to put out one thing. I think many people in the West really afraid of robots. But you can see many on Twitter, you will see a lot of I see a lot of tweets about Chinese robots, very advanced robots, and I think in the future definitely China gonna go in towards the very robotic society. But you mean, but at the same time you still have to help.
Whoa, what was that?
Oh, Zena's just cut out.
Oh yeah, Zena, I think your microphone cut out for a second.
Oh, you're back. She's back.
Oh, I'm back. Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
I think. Oh,
it's going again, Zena. Have you moved
Am I back?
Yeah, you're back now.
Okay, I'm not gonna touch my microphone. Yeah.
I think
one
the last thing you said was about robots.
Oh yeah. I think higher quality also means you have to give people the ability to teach them how to manage the future society, right? So I think just to put out an example, I think in China right now there's a lot of vocational centers and vocational programs. What I know is in many vocational programs, many people can register those programs just to get those ideas. For example, there are also some very technical scientific. I forgot sometimes maybe AI also artificial intelligence related as well. In this sphere, the government will support the students largely. For example, you're just you're already 30 years old, 25 years old, you already graduate from university, but you don't have any any capabilities of learning those low stuff, but you can register those programs to get an idea, to better assimilate into a future society, I guess.
Hold on, Sammy, just before you come in, I'm thinking about what you were just saying, and I always like to compare this to stuff in the West, because I think one of the problems with Westerners' views on China is they never compare it to how things are in the West. Now, if you're talking about vocational workplace training, now here in the West we have plenty of courses at college that are vocational, where you go and learn to be a hairdresser, etc. All these manual sort of jobs. the West has exactly the same, because the West is not running them under a communist government or whatever. These things just sort of slip under. Nobody criticizes them. Nobody uses them as a point of contention. But this gets used as a point of contention when it's coming to China. Look how China's pushing poor people into factories and stuff. And it's like, well, yeah, that's good. People should be given a job and they should be trained in that job on how to do it properly, safely, and better themselves. Education, you teach, like we've said this before, you teach a man to fish and he'll feed himself for life. And he'll improve his fishing as he goes along as well, because that's what humans do. So
yeah,
I think both countries do the
there's
same.
quite a difference. I think there's a difference between college and Chinese vocational program. Because
of course. But what I mean is just the principle of a country giving people vocational training isn't something that's alien to the West. That's what I'm trying to get at.
Yeah, absolutely. I just want to add one point, because like those programs, normally you can get reimbursed if you finish the program. Like, for example, you get a certificate after you attend the program, the government will give you back the money, because like they might think like you can, maybe you can contribute to the society and so better, embody your, and help you better find a job or something.
Well, wholesome. That's all I can say to that one. Sammy?
Yeah, as we approach the hour mark, I just wanted to, and also before we start discussing the second part of, or the second topic, I just wanted to bring up 2 points. Fran, do you remember when you told us about what happened when your local council tried to implement this bicycle thing like they have in Beijing? Tell us about that.
Oh yeah, in the very first episode.
Yeah, and
so
this
was
was
to tell.
Yeah, tell us.
So
sorry,
British people.
This was just like in the point that Zena was saying, that how like in China they are utilizing technology to improve people's lives, such as AI and robots, whereas people in the West tend to be scared about that.
Yeah, well, this is just a bike as well, so it kind of is automated because you could just rent it out.
But tell us about it.
Well, so in China you can rent bikes out, and you use an app and it unlocks itself. It kind of like it's like an automated process of getting a bike. You don't see a human, you ride it around, and then you get off it and it locks itself, and then you walk away.
You
and
leave it anywhere.
Exactly, somebody else gets on it. So they trialled that in my city here, and people just being British, and I don't know, they just end up like putting them up trees and throwing them in the canal. And I've got mates who've got one in the back garden. It's just been there a month, and they've smashed their tracking thing off it so they can keep. People are just like, we say in the West, if something's not nailed down, someone's going to take it.
So, that's the thing, isn't it? That's like when you live in a country that has a basis in individualism rather than collectivism. People do go, oh, well, it's funny, I'm going to steal that bike and throw it in the canal, or that's funny, I'm going to steal that bike and just take it home because it's funny, or, it's cheaper than getting a bike from elsewhere. But in China, everyone knows that if they steal and destroy the bikes, there isn't going to be public bikes for everyone, and it's cheap and free. Well, it's not free, but when I was in Shanghai, it was 10 kuai, 10 yuan. For 6 months.
6
months of using the bike service for £1. So like that, obviously it's massively subsidized by the government. Every day in Shanghai you'd see like bicycle delivery vans coming by to collect broken bicycles and deliver new ones. It was because so many people did it that it must have been, economically efficient in the end, because millions and millions of people in Shanghai must have been paying 10 yuan for that app. You know what I mean?
Also, just before we go on to our second subject, I want to point out, like, in the 5-year plan, one of the points of the 5-year plan, or rather the longer-term goals set for 2035, is making major breakthroughs in core technologies in key areas. China will become a global leader in innovation.
Oh, we're not up to there yet, Sammy. We're not up to there yet. We're not up to that one yet. We're on enhanced multi-tiered social security system and health system.
Yeah, but I just wanted to mention something very quickly about this in terms of geopolitics, because when it comes to semiconductors, especially the 4nm semiconductors, which are the latest technology that are implemented in like the smartphones and also computers, there's only, I believe, one company that can manufacture those semiconductors in the world, and it's a Dutch company. Now, in China's efforts to become self-sufficient, especially in the area of technology, they tried to buy one of those machines that are used by the Dutch company, but the US government actually blocked that sale. So they obviously have that in mind with the 5-year plan. So what do you want to say, Tom?
No, I agree with that. China getting access to superconductors is one of Xi Jinping's key technological goals, because obviously it's necessary for so many important technologies, and obviously that's something that would become easy to restrict to China if China couldn't, indigenously produce it. So it's really important for China to get access to this technology, and they are, ramping up their efforts to do so. So that doesn't surprise me at all. But if they get access to that, then China is essentially, it's self-reliant. Then China does not need another country once it can basically produce superconductors. Obviously, it needs oil and imports food and stuff like that. But in terms of things China cannot make, the only thing China cannot really make is this superconductor.
Right. Nice. What's the next one? Enhanced multi-tiered social security system and health system. So that's just another one that's big in the West as well. That should ring familiar to Westerners. Social security and health. You've only got to look at. This is a fact that I will give you about the West before we go into this. The USA would rather pay for healthcare in Europe to stop Europe becoming socialist itself than give Americans healthcare. That's how little the American government care about Americans.
The Marshall Plan.
Yeah, the NHS and socialised healthcare across Europe was paid for by the US as Marshall Plan money. So Americans that are mad about healthcare, if the reason why you ain't got it is because your government just doesn't give a fuck about you, basically. So this, in regards to China, we'll not stick on this again, because improving healthcare doesn't really need to be analysed, does it?
Wait, but before we tap into China, I just want to bring about something I feel like very very funny, because when Obama got elected, he introduced the Obamacare, which is kind of, I think it's more favorable towards the citizens, the American citizens. And because that's why you see the difference between China's 5-year plan and the plan in the United States. After Trump got elected, the Obamacare just being abandoned, by the government. I was like, okay, that's
not just abandoned, like demonized.
Yeah. And also Trump was trying to introduce some Obamacare light, like that kind of Medicare for some kind of like less system. But
and
eventually,
even what Bernie Sanders was offering before this election wasn't socialized healthcare; it was socialized health insurance. That's how right-wing America is when it comes to healthcare. Socialized health insurance.
Yeah. Country.
And at the same time, healthcare in Britain and places like that, if the Tory government tried to sell or close or cancel the NHS, that would tip British people over onto the streets. That would be a revolutionary situation if that happened. Let's go on to the next one, because everybody knows about healthcare. Make modern strides in the modernisation of national defence and the armed forces. Again, this one just, to me, reads like any Western political manifesto that a party will have during elections. I don't know if you're familiar with that, but when a party's going to be goes into the campaign thing, they'll release a manifesto. When we're reading through these, they just sound like the Labour Party's 10 pledges for election or whatever. So yeah, make modern strides in the modernisation of national defence and the armed forces. Go ahead, Tom.
So this is talking about China's Navy and Air Force mostly, and also the Army, because one thing that is discussed on Chinese social media is how the armed forces aren't provided generally with body armor, and it's a bit of a talking point. So Xi Jinping made it a big thing that every PLA soldier getting deployed to the front line will be provided with bullet-resistant body armor. But that's just a minor thing. This is talking about, getting China's navy up to scratch, building new frigates. China's building new frigates and destroyers by the day. They literally produced, I think, 100 frigates this year, and we haven't produced 100 ships in the past 100 years. So that's just something to point out. China is churning out military hardware at a rate that has never been seen in peacetime. And it's fair enough, because they're still nowhere near the American military in terms of units of warplanes, boats, whatever. And America is getting more and more belligerent. So it makes sense for China to up its national defense, make sure it's ready for a potential conflict, especially one from all sides, like an India, Japan, Korea kind of conflict, which we wouldn't want to see.
It's seen itself invaded by fascists before as well, don't forget. So this preparation is more than justified.
But one of the main things as well is...
don't forget those military bases around China.
Exactly.
Yes, it's encircled. Entirely encircled. But one final point as well is she wants to make the military supply chains indigenous as well. So that means that when a war starts, he wants to be able to produce all of his own J-20 fighter jets indigenously in China without any kind of problems. You don't want to be buying, microchips from abroad. They don't want to be buying, too much iron ore from Australia for necessary components, stuff like this. What they want to be focusing on is domestic production. So it's about making the armed forces. The whole of this kind of 5-year plan, it's got an outward look of kind of, look how green we are, but the actual truth of it is it's about strengthening China internally and kind of making China seem more resilient, so it can respond to outside threats from any kind of sector, be it military or economic.
Nice. Well, hold on. I just want to... We've got Connor in the chat who's written a few articles for us, so welcome. And we've also just got Tima join us on Discord. Say hello, Tima.
Sup? What up, mate?
Easy now. Have you got anybody you want to recommend to follow? We've asked everybody tonight to name one Twitter account that they want to big up.
Funniest account is I think it's called Drew Dastiari. It's just a kind of makes fun of Drew Pavlo. He's so good, and he.
Let me find him.
Apparently Drew Pavlo thinks it's me and my partner in crime, Slim Matthews Stilrisi.
How do you spell this?
Drew. I'll type it down for you. 1 second. It's quite long.
Casually having coffee and waiting with Tima.
Nice. You're just sipping a coffee here, Sammy.
No, I wish.
Actually, Sammy, that's a good idea. I might go and make one soon.
If the chat would feel so generous to fulfill my caffeine my caffeine craving, like just drop a couple of quid and I'll go buy myself a coffee.
He's such a grifter, Sammy. Every week
he's always grifting in the chat.
He's trying to get a coffee out.
Gotta make that money.
Right. So anyway, everybody follow this Drew Dastari account recommended by Tima, who's just joined us. So what we're on next is we've done the administration system once. Maintain long-term prosperity and stability for Hong Kong and Macau, and promote the peaceful development of relations across the Taiwan Straits and national reunification. That one sounds lovely to me. Sorry. It goes hand in hand with that video Nathan Rich put out today about Taiwan being a country. I think I don't think
Taiwan not being a country.
Taiwan not being a country.
A province.
I think you should go and watch that if you want to know the situation with Taiwan. We could do a full episode on that, so we'll skip that one for now. So we've finished they're the targets for 21 to 20, so that's the literal 5-year plan. And then on top of that, there's a thing called long range objectives through the year 2035. So this one, Sammy, answers your question from earlier. China is aiming to basically achieve socialist modernization. The first one is making major breakthroughs in core technologies in key areas. China will become a global leader in innovation. I think Tom, you've just summed that one up when you're talking about semiconductors and being self-sufficient. So we'll skip on from that. China will finish building a modernised economy. Anyone want to talk about that? Harrison, you've not said anything for a while.
Sorry, I was getting a Guinness.
Another one.
Wait. Oh, me. Can you hear me? Sorry.
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yeah, my microphone just unplugged. Yeah, sorry, I was getting a Guinness earlier. That's why I wasn't speaking. We did talk a little bit earlier about the China building that was building what's it called, a modernised economy by 2035, right?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else I can add to that really.
I think this goes hand in hand with all the infrastructure that you see getting built up, isn't it?
I think if you were maybe to give a comparison or to draw a parallel for those people who could, to help them understand, maybe this is more like the final step in the NAP compared to the Soviet Union, I suppose, before they go full on socialist, really.
Yeah, that's how I'd read into that. When they say building a modernized economy, you've got to remember, China's done a very parkour political change over the past 100 years. They've gone from full-blown, Middle Ages feudalism all the way skyrocketed up through collectivism. They've gone to industrialization. They've gone through modern capitalism. They've gone through reforms, and now they are finally within 100 years. They're at this final stage where they can now claim that they have finished building their economy. It's now ready for the transition, as it were, into what could be considered a socialist economy. Because you can't form a socialist economy when it's not built. Is the point?
Yeah, exactly. You have to build it for it to actually exist.
So, are we going to move on to the second
Wait,
topic?
well,
Hold on, because we've only got a
sec.
few of these left, so
Okay.
No,
you're always
I just
trying to
wanna-
rush us on here, Sammy. Yes, Harrison.
I
you
just
can.
wanted to read a quote by Deng Xiaoping. One of my favourite quotes. It is, "Only if we make our country a modern, powerful socialist state can we more effectively consolidate the socialist system and cope with foreign aggression and subversion. Only then can we be certain of gradually creating the material conditions for the advance to our great goal of communism." And that's from Deng Xiaoping. I think that's a fantastic quote, and it's quite clear that obviously even the modern day 5-year plans kind of agree with that thing. It's following that kind of line, and also Mao's line too. Yeah, I think that's a great quote, because obviously imperialism has proved to be the biggest threat to kind of socialism
Mankind,
in
really.
history. Yeah, exactly. So I think that's a great quote. Just wanted to put that
Also,
out there.
another
Yeah.
brilliant quote by Deng Xiaoping is, "Productive forces go vroom vroom."
He
Yeah.
did say that at the 19th Party plenary conference, yes.
Yeah, after a few shots of Bai Jiao, I believe.
And actually, it's actually Hong Long in Chinese, if you want to be accurate with the translation, Sammy.
Nice.
China's productive forces go Hong Long. Sorry, go on.
The per capita GDP will reach the level of moderately developed countries. The size of the middle income group will be significantly expanded.
Oofed.
Someone want to go into that one?
I think that's very obvious as what he says.
Yeah.
just
Self-explanatory.
China wants to increase the people's income,
Yeah,
just to achieve
Yeah.
that's
and you
another
think
key socialist principle, really, isn't it? Is more money in workers' pockets.
think
That's
one
exactly
thing to,
should be fight number one.
One thing to take from that though is if you look at the way capitalism created their middle class in America and the UK, I say middle class with inverted commas because they don't really exist. Because you have the ultra wealthy and then you have the ultra poor, and then obviously you have this kind of straddling line in between.
It's a strata.
Whereas in China, the gap is much smaller anyway to begin with. So when China's talking about building a middle class, it's talking about building a socialist middle class rather than a capitalist middle class, and it's talking about reducing the overall amount of high up billionaires and wage earners. And,
Let me just stop you.
decreasing...
The way that's written is, it sounds like you bring in the top down and the bottom up. You know,
Exactly.
You're making that gap smaller, aren't you? So you're
it's
squeezing
what, It's what capitalism claims to be able to do when it says, trickle down economics. But
Exactly.
that's been proven false. However, this Deng Xiaoping economics has been proven fucking very, very good and based already. So, like, I'm just excited to see where it goes in the next 5 years and how materially, Chinese people's lives do increase. It's going to be interesting to watch.
Yeah, I think this one should be read with the one what we were talking about the Chinese government is trying to restrict those giant tech companies. You see, as Tom
exactly.
said, just to restrict the top 1% and to expand the middle income people. I don't think that's really very, very prevalent in the West. Even in the West, like monopoly, they basically control the whole government.
Well, the capitalists
in some
try
way.
and make that out that this works in the West.
Yeah.
Next one, eco-friendly ways of work and life will be advanced to cover all areas of society. Carbon emissions will steadily decline after reaching a peak. Another one for Greta to just jump on board, but she won't. We all know what that's about. It's just the ongoing ecological stuff that we talked about before. Next one, the opening up will reach a new stage with substantial growth of the country's strengths for participating in international economic cooperation and competition. Now, this is just the Belt and Road is going to be settled, isn't it, by the sounds of it? Like, it's settled down and pumping money out around the world. Tom, what do you think to that one? You're the Belt and Road guy.
That's such a boring superhero name, that, isn't it? Belt and Road Man. I don't know. I don't know whether it's specifically talking about Belt and Road. To me, this sounds more like it's talking about cooperating with China's third world allies. So more like Iran and the victims of US imperialism. When it talks about economic cooperation, because China will cooperate with anyone that wants to cooperate with China.
Sure. Even the USA, they've said this as well.
Of course, but China also knows that China isn't an idealist, and it knows that a lot of countries are not going to be wanting to deal with it due to all of the smears and such that are getting generated as days go by the CIA and whichever three-letter agencies are involved. But basically, I think it's more regarding the competition. I think is a bit of a, we're number one economy now. America, fuck you. We're competing with you on an equal level now. We're no longer, being oppressed by you. We're no longer playing by your rules because you tell us to, because we are equal to you. We have an equal market share of the world as America does. So, China no longer needs to play by America's rules because it's everyone's game now.
Also, this is quite different from, I'd say, the previous competition between the socialist bloc and the West in the previous century, because, as we can see from the last century, the mechanics of this competition and really the conflict, I guess you can put it, was that the socialist bloc and the Soviet Union were economically isolated from the rest of the world, as opposed to China today and other socialist countries like Vietnam, most notably, and Laos. They are very economically intertwined in the world market, especially China. China is vital for the world market. Without even China,
pick something up. Where was it made? Pick the closest thing up to your desk right now. Where was it made?
My laptop.
Yeah, well, where was it made?
Find
exactly. Find the little thing on it that says where it was made.
Mine was made in Dublin. Guess what it is?
Oh, well, it's a can of Guinness.
Yeah, you're right.
So, Connor in the chat said China's got a deal with Iran with $400 trillion.
Yeah,
400 billion.
Yes,
very interesting deal.
Not only that, but it's also massive economic and military cooperation as well.
Yes, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Oh, on that, by the way, Tom.
Sorry, it makes me horny.
Tom, you know the Belt and Road Initiative article that you wrote for the Mango Press, right? Yeah, I actually used that article. I sent that to someone the other day, and it basically converted them. So that shows how good. Yeah, no, it converted them, as in like it made them a lot more positive towards kind of socialism in China. Just that article, literally. So that was a really good article. Just want to say well done there.
Shameless plug to our website where you can find several articles.
And that's the plug. So yeah, incredible article right there. You should go read it, everyone.
I'm gonna just grab that article now. While we are looking, it was the Belt and Road one, yeah.
More articles on the way, by the way, guys.
Yeah, we need to.
One about Tiananmen Square, and another one about. Oh shit!
No,
that was supposed to be a surprise.
Sorry, I tweeted about it.
Surprise, is it? You've ruined the surprise.
And it was a banana, but it's made in Australia. But the thing is, it was picked by Chinese workers from Taiwan province. So technically, I guess it is made in China in a way.
Yeah, bananas made in China. Well, yeah, it's Taiwan province, China. Thanks, Nathan Rich.
Escape Chinese products. Yeah, well.
I'm just going on the Nathan Rich assessment on this. Right, the last one on this list. The implementation of the Secure China initiative, which will be promoted to a higher level. Now, can someone tell me what the Secure China initiative is, please?
Yeah, I can talk a little bit about the China security
Go
initiative.
Ahead.
Yeah, I think this is quite easy to understand if you know about the whole Merkel scandal and or the Snowden scandal. It's basically trying to build a very secure, just trying to secure the data security. When especially like China is proposed like to do more cooperation with foreign countries. So you definitely need to build a very global student initiatives on data security that aims to tackle issues, especially in some sphere like including even those infrastructures or something. Trying to protect those, especially when it comes to Belt and Road Initiative.
Yeah, and I think as the internet in China gets more and more open as well, this has got to be put in, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's a very important point. Yeah,
the internet is getting more and more open every year, isn't it? There's the more and more websites and American sort of Western companies get allowed to operate because they have decided they want to abide by Chinese law. Another thing that's misunderstood, there's plenty of websites that are banned in the West because they don't agree to abide by Western laws. That's when people talk about the Chinese firewall, that's all they're talking about. They're talking about websites that are not agreeing to abide to Chinese law, therefore won't get published. Go on, Tom.
A good example of that is when you Google search like for an MP4 or something, and you see these results have been removed under the EU's GDPR regulations. If you see that, that's the EU's Great Firewall. That's what that is. The EU has their own. It's just companies that don't abide by EU law.
Are you saying you search for illegal MP4s, Tom?
Yes.
That's true. Yeah, man. I've got a good point. It's like the craziness is just how Western right-wing conservative crap goes into China. I remember I got in China around, I think it was 2016, and then this fucking Chinese student from Beijing, China Normal, Beijing Normal University or something. And she was just like linking me these weird sort of bribe up posts, but they were actually on WeChat. Like someone had reposted them in WeChat and translated them. I was just like, what the fuck? And it was like teaching them how Muslims are like bombing places and shit. So a lot of this Islamophobia and shit that's happening in China, like even if it's even major, is coming from the West and being sort of splintered in by weird Chinese expat teachers, just translating bullshit about like Muslim plots in China. Yeah. So yeah, fuck that shit, man.
Wait, so you're saying that even Western propaganda is being imported into China?
Yeah. Well, the BBC have got the bloody US State Department have a account on Chinese social media. It's not like it's fully. People just know that it's like bollocks, basically.
But it's easy to like, believe in it, you know. So, like, there was some stuff about German asylum seekers being mass rapists being posted on Chinese WeChat, I think, a few years ago as well, and some boomers still end up believing that shit, and it's just
but that stuff was about in the West as well. The far right was pushing this idea that Muslims were coming over from Syria and raping women in Germany as well. That was just a right wing dog whistle or whatever for Islamophobia. So
I mean, that's probably our main fucking right wing anti-immigration thing at the minute, right? In the UK, still, like, that's awful.
I mean, there's literally debates in our parliament about whether we should use our navy to sink fucking.
Well,
they've just
passed a banning of freedom. I think Priti Patel, that token.
Oh man,
Tory.
I hate that bitch.
She's just passed something to end freedom of movement.
She's like the Indian British Vicky Shue, man. That's what she is.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, and you see Nigel Farage in his little fucking boat going to them as well, don't you? Like, it makes me annoyed, makes me angry. I'm not going to rant too much, but
that man's a grifter as well.
It's so annoying. Like, yeah.
Yeah, there's like I think a WeChat sort of post like account called the Global. I think it's made by a Canadian guy, and all he ever does is either post right-wing propaganda and spread into China, or talk about expat rights and how, as a white man, he's being persecuted because his Chinese family doesn't take him as seriously because he's not fully Chinese. They give him too good treatment. Anyway, it's just the most stupid thing.
The amount of entitlement.
Yeah.
Right, so I think that's the end of the 5-year plan section. Let's go on to the next part of the show. Which
Can I open up with it?
Sure, Sammy. You open up with it.
Yes, I was basically saying, like, just for background.
What are you basically saying?
Well,
you're about to basically say. Sorry, I'm just tripping you up.
Well, I'm going to, because we're like already an hour and 40 minutes in, I'm going to try and make this a bit brief so we don't
an hour
go
and
on
40?
for too long.
No, we're an hour and 26 minutes in.
Yeah, we're not an hour and 40, Sammy.
Ah, well, okay then. So, basically... All right. Anyway, just for a bit of background, as we have seen from previous U.S. administrations in terms of foreign policy, they've been carrying out this soft power strategy across, well, all the way from Eastern Europe to the Middle East, as we said, like with Arab Spring and color revolutions. And this is by basically financing quote unquote like democracy activists organizations, basically NGOs. And through these mechanisms, they have facilitated the manipulation of the young minds, especially of those countries, and like destabilizing them quite significantly. What we've seen with the Trump administration is that, with the influence of the military-industrial complex, they have pushed for more, like strong muscle, very military. This happened last time as well. Militaristic kind of strategy, as we've seen like with Iran. Now, Biden seems to be bringing back the policies from the Obama administration. I've seen today in an article that Biden, based basically on what he's been saying throughout the debate as well, he's willing to be softer on Iran, especially hinting at possibly bringing back the nuclear deal, which also opens up the door for, as I said, again, this soft power strategy through financing these liberal NGOs within Iran. What was I about to say? So yeah, basically same policies as the Hillary Clinton administration. I think it's probably going to be ramped up more this time, because Syria, to this day, has been standing its ground, steadfast. Like, one could argue they've won the civil war at this point, so I think right now they're really going to double down, but hopefully, well, I mean, like, anti-imperialism is going to prevail in the end. And also, what else is there to say? Yeah, that's my main opening point, really.
Anyone else want to come in on the Joe Biden situation?
Sorry,
like,
just one more thing. It is weird because they I'm really sorry if I interrupted anyone, but it is interesting because they seem to want to go back to this soft power strategy when it comes to the Middle East and Eastern Europe and color revolutions and Iran. But when it comes to China, Biden has seemed to be criticizing Trump, especially throughout the debates, for being not tough enough on China and the DPRK, which is a bit interesting. And also, like, Biden put out, I say Biden wrote this article, but it doesn't really seem like he has the cognitive ability to do that. A few months ago, he put out an article in Foreign Policy, I think it was, and he was basically saying that America is going to reassert itself on the world, and, like, quote unquote, America's back. So I think I think this difference in strategy in the Middle East compared to, like, China and the DPRK is quite an interesting difference, really.
Yeah, my takeaway on this would be Joe Biden is a lot more intelligent than Trump, whether we want to admit that or not.
The people behind
and
it, really.
But he himself, I think, is a lot more intelligent than Donald Trump. And he acknowledges that the greatest threat to capitalism in the modern age is Chinese-style communism, because it's being proved successful and it's working. And they know that a war with Iran is just fucking chaos. It's unwinnable. It would be pointless. And they probably wouldn't even be able to get the right regime change they wanted, like they didn't in Iraq, right? Same with Afghanistan. However, the ultimate goal of the empire remains to be to crush communism, in my opinion. And that's why I think you've got Biden talking about going harder on North Korea and China, because he's talking about redirecting the empire's focus. I think Trump was genuinely racist and guided by racist intentions, and he had a desire to just bomb brown people. And, like, you know, Qasem Soleimani was offered to him on a platter, and he just took it. And as such, he fucked up loads of things. Same with the Iran nuclear deal, because he wanted to be like, you know, the Israeli president as well. He wanted to be the pro-Israel president and, you know, return Jerusalem to the embassy to Jerusalem and all this shit. Point being, I think that Joe Biden and his administration are more intelligent. They've witnessed themselves being called the left by Trump and his dogs. They know they're not the left, and they know that the left is actually the biggest threat to them, and it's not.
They get called some the left kind every time. I'm a little bit older than some of the rest of you, and this is a long-term thing. You know, I can remember the two. It's always been the left. You know, Al Gore was like a communist.
Well, Obama was a communist, wasn't he? In their minds.
You know, so the Dems are always hardcore Stalinists in the eyes of the Republicans. Carry on.
That was pretty much it. I think my thing is Obama started the pivot to Asia, and he also kind of pivoted away from
South America.
From South America, but also from the Middle East. He tried the Iran nuclear deal. He tried pulling out of Afghanistan and stuff like that. I think Obama acknowledged that the greatest threat to American hegemony was China and the BRI, which I still believe is the case. However, I think Trump, when you put Trump in, he sees the benefits of free market capitalism trading with communist China. So while Trump's a hard man and he's up in the anti-Asian racism and all this, and the coronavirus gave him a scapegoat and everything, like, he's actually been more friendly towards China in terms of, obviously not trade war, but like, than I think who was going up against Trump, Clinton. I think Clinton would have been much more of a warmonger because of the Democrat backing against China. Yeah.
No, definitely. You're right.
I'm saying that's, you think Clinton would have been more of a warmonger. The thing about Trump I think it was Assad who said it, is the reason why Trump's funny is because he tells you exactly what he's going to do.
He's honest,
yeah. He can't help but tell you the truth. And I think the problem with Trump is when he gets on stage and says things like, I'm good friends with Xi and stuff like this. There's literally not what you should be saying to the American public, is it? That's why he's gone. But also,
think-
while we're discussing Joe Biden here, we have to remember that technically Joe Biden hasn't won yet because, like we said earlier on in the show, Trump and Mike Pompeo and the rest of the idiots who've lost the election are fighting it through courts, and it's a big mess going on there. Trump could walk away being the president still. This happened in 2001 with Bush when they recounted Florida, and it was done by Bush's team. I don't know if Bush legitimately won or not, but the judge who presided over the case was like Bush's bloody campaign manager. That's America for you.
That's why Trump's been stacking the Supreme Court,
Yeah.
And no, you're technically 100% correct because the counting hasn't actually finished in most of these states, and there's a margin of like 0.2, 0.1% for like Michigan and Wisconsin, Georgia at the moment. So the counting's actually technically not finished. It's just that it's being called by the media for Biden. So there's very much a chance, for Trump to come back, but very slim chance, but it's still a chance.
I'm going to read some of his tweets while the next person talks.
I mean, he's trying, isn't he? He's trying to come back. And I think, just adding on to the Trump thing, I think he is a lot more overt with what he says. He kind of puts it out there, whereas what's kind of, I think, more scary about Biden, especially if you're not living in America and if you are living in kind of the third world,
Anywhere
as it
else.
were. Exactly. He is a lot more covert. And it's kind of like, and also I think he's a lot more competent in imperialism, as like.
I mean, it's not that. I think it's more. Sorry, it's more that Biden will just probably just get his no. He's not him. He's not even in control, man. It's gonna be like his little underlings. They're gonna be controlling him as like a puppet. He's a whole dude. He just wants to shit his pants and eat ice cream all day. He doesn't really know what's going on.
He's more of a puppet, right?
Head.
Exactly. He's more of a puppet than.
And that's what's frightening.
Yeah.
Because you don't want the US. You don't want the US's, and I don't want to use Trump. Well, I don't want to legitimize Trump's word in here, but you don't want the swamp in charge. You'd rather have the fucking idiot fighting against the swamp.
No, because
while he's doing that, and he's fighting against US interests, he's bringing the empire down for the rest of the world, which is fantastic. Which is why we wanted a second Trump victory. But
exactly,
as you've said, when you've got a puppet.
Trump and Pompeo and that, it looks like they're trying to like generate colour revolution in their own country.
Exactly.
It's proper CIA shit in it. Pompeo's learned from the best. He's like, why don't we just do this at home?
But then the media
have been learning from all our friends.
What it says on Twitter at the minute, Pompeo declines to acknowledge Biden's projected election victory during press briefings. Like the media are almost trying to bully Trump and Pompeo into admitting defeat because they've just got to hold out, It
is quite clear which side the media is on. Like, for example, the vaccine thing. I'm not a Trump fan, of course, but with
explain to people who don't know, because I don't know this vaccine thing.
I mean, I'm just being a bit conspiracy, but of course Trump kept saying how there was a vaccine near, right? And the media would keep calling him crazy. They'd say, "Oh, there's no vaccine. You're insane." But as soon as it was announced after the election, it's like, of course they wouldn't announce it while Trump was still president because it would give him more popularity, right? But literally 2 days after the election was called by the media, that's when they announced it. Like it is kind of fishy, and kind of, I don't know. I just think Biden's more of a establishment kind of fucking president, and
I saw something interesting.
I think he's a lot more competent in imperialism, and I think that's quite clear from what he's already suggested. He's already attacked China at kind of every opportunity since the election result. Carry on, Tom.
I just want to go back onto your point there when you were saying about the vaccines, kind of announcement date. I'm pretty sure they said this morning on either BBC News or GMTV. It was one of the pundits they were speaking to, and I think he revealed information that he shouldn't have done because he said something along the lines of, "Oh well, we had to halt release of information of this vaccine for a couple of days because we knew how the stock market would react." Right?
Exactly.
But they said, so they're basically acknowledging that it's for profit anyway, so that's why I'm not putting the fucking shit anywhere near me. Sinovac, my DMs are open. Basically,
well, they're not. You ain't got an account.
They will be. They will be. They will be after the stream. That's the thing. Like, you know, stop laughing.
That's funny. Sorry. I'll stop.
No, you wrecked me there. To be fair. No, I can't actually remember what I was saying. Now I've completely lost.
You're talking about. You were grifting for a China vaccine.
Oh yeah. Well, like the thing is, you know, this vaccine is purely for profit, but also I think the fact that they've said that they've held it back for a couple of days, it's kind of indicative of the fact that they don't want it to have impacted a Trump thing. Trump can claim, oh, it's the Trump vaccine, my vaccine that I made under my presidency, and it's going to be the greatest vaccine ever, and it's going to save all your lives, and maybe enough idiots would have voted for him on that basis. But like, it's very clear which side, as Harrison also said, the media's on, and which side the media's on is generally the side to avoid as a rule of thumb. Not always, but like in 90% of cases, like they pick the wrong horse. And it's just a bit like, you know, why are they celebrating Biden's victory before it's been called? Why are they laughing at Trump and his tweets and calling Trump a disgrace? And why is Fox News turning on Trump? And it's all just too much. I don't want to get into the whole, is it a coup, is it a conspiracy thing? But it's very clear who the elites in America favour.
Also,
did you guys see the news about Brazilian government turned down the Chinese vaccine?
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Mm-hmm.
Of course it did.
Yeah, like they say, like it had the Chinese vaccine caused severe
Seizures.
adverse.
No,
Yeah,
serious
but-
adverse.
Hang on a minute.
Serious adverse effect, but it turns out the one volunteer, he committed suicide, not because
Right.
of the vaccine, but
No,
because he committed suicide.
Yeah, it was nothing to do with the vaccine. It literally said it in the
Yeah.
article. But of course, the headline from I think it was Bloomberg.
Yeah.
They don't
New York
give a
Times
shit
as well.
about that, and it got spread around Twitter and Facebook because no one actually reads the articles. But yeah, it's just
And all this matters.
what they're trying to do though is it's the same as the space race. They're trying to make it a vaccine race, and they're rushing it, and it's just cringe really, because China is just focusing on healing people, whereas it's a profit kind of thing in the West. But anyway, carry on, Frank.
Yeah, man, they are just trying to like get the stocks up, man. They're on that Reddit shit called Wall Street Bets, and they're like putting the life savings on that shit.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's a sad
Wall
life,
Street.
man. These
I never
people-
thought Wall Street bets would get mentioned on our podcast. Carry on.
They're like, what the fuck, like Biden or Trump? Trump's already put like 100 million on hydroxychloroquine, whatever the fuck he was taking, that steroid shit. Actually, I don't even know what that is, but you know, he's fucked.
But right, so this thing in Brazil, all roads lead back to the US and their xenophobia attitude, you know, that they're pushing. So I don't think this is going to change, regardless of who's president. Someone in the chat has asked, Sinovac or Sputnik Vac. So pick one. Which would you rather have? I'm going Sputnik Vac. I'm going old school. I want the USSR drug, the one Putin developed
Sinovac.
himself.
I think
Well,
both of
we
them.
know
are-
you were going Sinovac.
I think both of them.
I'd fucking drink Sinovac.
I think both of them are reliable, to be honest. Like, because with Sputnik 5, the first people to take it were the government ministers and high-ranking army officers.
Nice. That's Russians for you,
This-
isn't it?
this is
Like,
even before
arguing
the-
over who's going to take it. I'm harder than you. Give me the vaccine.
This is even before the third stage of the trials, where they have like mass testing.
Russia had it first as well, didn't they? They had
Yeah.
it before
Yeah, I
China.
think so.
yeah. China and Russia are way ahead in terms of testing, in terms of the numbers of testing as well. Like this kind of fawning over the potential vaccine in the West is it's not good. But anyway, carry on.
Yeah,
I'm
I'm definitely gonna go with the Chinese vaccine. Yeah, because like I think the Chinese vaccine, because I'm going back to China like the end of this year. Also, they're gonna. I know like in December they're gonna put out the vaccine, like mass vaccination for the citizens. And I think it's not the
video of
citizens.
the automated vaccination place that's going to get made in China?
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah,
Obviously,
I don't think.
we can't get it up, Tom, because your account's gone. But it basically is like a booth. For anybody who's not seen it, there's like a photo booth that was set up in the street, and you go and sit in there, and it like a robotic arm comes out and tells you how to inject yourself. Really futuristic stuff. And this goes back to like what we were talking earlier about the infrastructure available to actually sort of roll this stuff out. It's just there in China.
Yeah. Can we just give a shout out to the fact it's Singles Day, but also Remembrance Day in I think the UK or something in Australia.
Okay,
That's
so
pretty
what's Singles Day?
Well, Singles Day is the opposite of Valentine's Day, where all the incels get to.
Are you trying to say something, Tamer?
No, it's a huge holiday chance. The biggest. It's kind of like the Black Friday.
Like Black Friday, yeah.
Yeah, but they should really do a Singles Day sale for like vaccines, like American vaccines, because they're like actually jokes. You know, if you buy like 10 American vaccines, you can get like a boyfriend or something. No one's gonna buy this shit, bro. Like, yeah.
By the way,
Go on, Sammy.
Zena, are the vaccines going to be free for citizens of the PRC?
The government's trying to put the vaccine into the universal healthcare system, but I'm not sure. Even if you're going to pay for it, it's not going to be very expensive. Yeah, because like, right now, currently I think there's more than 10,000 people already took the vaccine, but they pay. I know they pay how much? $200 for 3 injections.
You mean
around
200
that
yuan?
price? $200.
Dollars?
Yeah. Wait, how much is it? Wait, $100. Should be $100 or $100 to $200. I'm not sure the price.
$100. That's a lot of money.
Yeah, because it's not mass production. Only those who currently going abroad, they're gonna take the injection. But like in the future, they're gonna mass produce, so it's gonna be used for like mostly majority of the citizens. So they're gonna reduce the price.
I think all of the PLA got vaccinated. All of the PLA that we see in theatre deployments. So basically deployments to any of China's borders, essentially. The People's Liberation Army troops were all provided with the vaccine.
True, because the Indian soldiers, that they would have a high rate of infection, and they could use that as a weapon against the PLA border guard to start coughing on them instead of the fist fights. So I think that's a genius plan by General Xi Jinping right there.
Yeah.
Oh, I just saw the price. Double check the price. It's like 2 injections will be lower than $100.
Nice.
Oh, the Chinese one?
Yes. Oh, no. Like American dollars. 88, like around $88.
It was 450 yuan for 2 shots, wasn't it? Was it Guilin? They were doing a public trial kind of thing, and people could pay for it. And I think you got 2 rounds of the injection. I think it was 450 yuan, which is 45 English pound, roughly about 50, probably about 50 or 60 pound now. I don't know how bad the English pound is. I'm going off like 2014 prices. But yeah,
I've got a question for everybody here. What would you buy on? What would you?
All right.
Start streaming.
All right.
Here we go.
You guys have
bourgeoisie.
No, it's starting upload. Finally.
It's so angry.
We're back.
Sammy is so angry.
We're back. We're back.
0 viewers.
How long were we gone for?
It's okay.
About
10 minutes.
3-4 minutes. Yeah. Oh, we got 1 viewer back. Bring everyone back, guys. We're very sorry about that. Shit student accommodation internet.
Tag your friends. Sammy's gonna do his rap that he did before the stream started. You are?
Hold on, because if anybody's doing anything, right, the challenge that we should be talking about is we need to get to 10,000 followers so we can get you doing this wicked WAP dance.
I'll do it if we hit 10k. Happily.
That's what
I'll let you do a kendo samurai special.
yeah, with a samurai sword. I asked the question just before
Mate,
we were cut off. Hold
listen,
on.
right.
I asked the question just before we were cut off.
Wait.
Let me ask the question again
No,
first.
keep going. All right. Keep
No,
going.
before we got cut off, I asked the question. It's Singles Day, so that's a big sale in China. It's like Black Friday. I asked the gang what they would like to buy for Singles Day. Harrison, what did you say?
No. Listen, because it's taken out of context, right?
Listen, nobody knows
No.
the context. You can play this however you want, mate. Like,
All right. Yeah. I think. Okay. I think samurai swords are cool, as in. Forget the historical context of everything. Like, I just think as an item, they're cool. And if it was on my wall, right, that would be cool. I wouldn't. No, wait. I wouldn't have any complaints if it's on my wall, because if someone come into my house, I'll stab them. Done.
Jesus Christ.
Right.
Okay, right, next. Who else wants to answer that?
Me?
Come on.
I think I'll buy myself well, realistically speaking, I'd buy myself a coffee machine.
Oh dear.
Not very
That's
creative,
boring.
but just like it just speaks to, human instincts. Not very
That's
creative.
boring.
Coffee machine.
I agree, Sammy. Make a special machine, definitely.
All right. I'm sorry, but that's boring.
I know it's
Alright,
boring,
alright.
Harrison. I said it's
Are we
not
re-
creative and appeals to human instincts.
Are we really gonna let that lie? Like a boring one
Better
like
than a
that?
samurai sword. But anyway,
Okay.
Tom.
All right.
Tom, are you awake?
Yeah, heard you. I'd probably use my
A new Twitter
double
account.
11 my double 11 she-bucks to buy back all my followers. Yeah,
Oh.
buy back my reach.
Yeah,
That's all I
I-
want now.
Tom needs to buy another account, another Twitter account, definitely.
Yeah.
I think I think the first thing coming to my mind will be Hanfu, like the Han traditional clothes, because they could be very expensive. So I want to buy some good Hanfu.
That is smart. Smart.
No,
thing.
that's cool. They're amazing now.
Yeah.
Talking of that, it was a hilarious that tweet from that Vietnamese lass going off mad
Luna.
about somebody
Oh,
wearing
okay.
Vietnamese. That was crazy the other week.
He's communist, whatever. I'm gonna buy a Chinese Gen sword just so I can fight Harrison in a duel. And destroy his-
Wait. No, wait.
I'm
No,
just
but-
joking with you, Harrison. Don't worry about it. This is funny. 'Cause
Okay.
you have to do the same view.
We're back. Okay, so
Saying you hate
Have it-
Japan
wait.
is just fact.
let's
Can I say
let's-
one more thing?
hold on.
One more
This
thing.
was
One more
meant to
thing. One
be-
more thing.
Okay, go on,
Tran,
quick.
let me say one more thing. I think that the art of sword making in general, not just samurai swords, but all swords, is an art that we should preserve and we should not let kind of fade away. Obviously, it's not a fucking something that we need at the minute. Obviously, because we've got guns and that, we've got
Are
nuclear weapons, but it's a historical thing that we should preserve. Okay, I love swords. It's what I'm saying, basically. All right.
All right,
Swords
there
are
we go.
cool.
that was meant to just be like a quick question of what you wanted to buy the most, and you ended up digging a nice hole for yourself. So wicked.
No, but-
Let's get back into the topic.
Let's forget that the
Let's just get back because I don't want you to keep going on about swords, or we're gonna have to change the name of this episode to the Way of the Blade.
No,
Why were you doing that anyway?
Wait, I look like that fucking meme now, while my friends were out partying, I was studying the sword,
Yeah, well,
you know
see,
that meme?
I wasn't even thinking about that meme until you brought
All
it
right,
up.
all right,
You're
all right,
thinking.
I'm not going to talk anymore.
But just one thing: the Chinese army did use the Dardal sword very extensively in World War II. They even it was much more reliable than actual guns made in China at the time.
Nice.
And so it's an actual practical, weapon that you could get. It's also connected to the Long March and all that those movements.
Now you're just encouraging him. But yeah, so what do we think?
Thank you, Timur, by the way. I appreciate the historical knowledge.
What do you think about Joe Biden? What do you think America's going to be?
Joe Biden.
What's the next 5 years for America?
More
4
dangerous
years.
for the third world.
Okay.
It's just going to be
Hopefully pandemic for 4 more years and then everyone's dead.
No,
What do you think? How are they going? How is Joe Biden going to solve COVID as well? Because what America needs is the same as what UK needs to do, which is a proper lockdown, isn't it?
well, it depends on the vaccine, right? And
I suppose, yeah.
in terms of non-COVID, I'm quite worried about kind of the Biden presidency. I think he's made it quite clear quite early on that he will be antagonistic towards China and the third world. But obviously the leftists and the communists don't really care about that because just get rid of Trump is the main goal. But in the third world, it's a lot more significant.
You're talking about Kamala Harris, or Kamala Harris, the black lady who looked up black people. She's probably going to be the president for longer.
And you're seeing liberals being
exactly.
like, you're seeing liberals post stuff about like she's got her pronouns in her bio. Let's go, sis. And
Oh my god! No, she's so cool.
Did you guys see the meme and it said it's the fucking, they say the next drone will be sent by a she-hare and it's like the fucking two comedy drones dropping rockets.
Is there a better example of non-identity politics than that? Like a kind of a person of color, woman, dropping drones on the Middle East. Like, yeah, we shouldn't be focusing on that kind of thing.
You're gonna see some fucking neoliberals saying in the next 4 years, I guarantee you this tweet will exist. Someone will say, don't worry because that drone was fucking non-binary or some shit like that. They're gonna try and attribute gender to the drone and then justify it or something
this
like
is
that.
the
You're gonna
death
see
of
liberals doing insane shit like this.
This is the death of the American left. Like, it's just going to get worse if they keep conceding to this kind of bullshit. Like,
Indian diaspora in the UK, right? Are they like happy that they have a half Indian vice president or something?
who knows? But I know for a fact that Kamala Harris wouldn't be getting anywhere in the UK Conservative Party. She would absolutely. She would. If she went for leader, they would lose all support in the racist south of England.
Joe Biden is too right wing for the fucking Tories, isn't he? Like,
yeah,
he is. Like, the Tories at least. Okay, maybe I'm being too generous here, but at least they believe in kind of the NHS, right?
Right, okay.
No. They have to. They know that if they dismantle the NHS, they're like. The people would be out in the streets, and then the communists would literally just probably take power there and then on the streets because people would be too angry at that. That's like an uncrossable line, and even the Tories respect uncrossable lines, but they don't want the NHS, which is why they sublet the contracts out and stuff, and they're killing it bit by bit, like dripping the blood out of it rather than slicing its throat, as it were.
Yeah, no, I agree with that, but would you say that kind of Joe Biden is... Obviously, he's a Tory kind of... If we're comparing to the UK, he's a right-wing Tory.
Minimum wage in the UK?
Yeah, we do have minimum wage, yeah. So the UK...
it's already more progressive than Joe Biden then, so yeah.
Well,
but it's true,
imagine like, that's fucking ridiculous.
It's true.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, the UK has kind of the very basics that you'd expect from a first world fucking country, and that's why AOC has described the UK as fucking socialist.
Yeah, she did, didn't she? She said she said that the US should be more like the socialist European countries. She said the classics, Norway and Sweden and the UK.
Yeah, exactly. And she said the UK first. Like, exactly. That's what we have. Literally the bare minimum, and that's kind of what the US leftists are working towards. That's fucking terrible.
Literally, like, But Europeans,
terrible.
like mainland Europeans, like laugh at us because they get even more from the Marshall Plan generally. Like the Spanish, when I lived in Spain, they'd be like, "What do you mean your trains don't have Wi-Fi?" And I'd be like, "Our trains are like 30 years behind your trains." They'd be like, but Spain is such a poor country. Spain is much poorer than England. How is this happening? And I'd be like, because England's fucked. They don't give a shit about public infrastructure. Like England is not somewhere to look up to now. At the present day, England is not a country to look up to in any way by any other country on earth.
Yeah, exactly.
Come down under. They were like, "You guys are so spoiled, mate. You got all these like bloody welfare and healthcare." I'm just like, wow, that's what England had that. I'm just like, wow, England must really suck, dude.
Yeah. There used to be a television advert, Tima, where I think it was for crisps or something, where like the UK gets like ropes round it and they move it to Australia, and everybody's really happy because it connects onto the side of Australia, and we get to like live in the hot weather. So yeah, you're right about them. Anyway,
British local. They're like, "How can I, mate?" You know, and the guy's like, "Yeah, I'm from the UK, and I earn £2 like working at that place. Was it? Let's call where you make pasties, Greg's or some shit."
Greg's.
Yeah. You can make more than £10 just being like doing nothing in Australia. It's like, yeah, and they get just never want to leave.
You could make £10 just doing nothing in Australia. Nice.
See, like it's a mad thing though. Like,
hold on, because we've got a comment here that says Biden can only do foreign interference since McConnell has already said that he will block any progressive policies domestically. Yeah, which I think is a good point. And also, while we mentioned AOC a minute ago, I love how she went and did a photo shoot up against like Trump's wall in Mexico, and then somebody just took a photo from a little bit further back. And it's not a fence at all. It's like a piece of fence, and he's just stood holding onto the fence, looking all sad. But really, like you could just walk around it like this comedy Hollywood. Their country's such a circus, you know. Even AOC when she goes to the wall, it's not a real wall. It's like a piece of wall. just set up in a parking lot.
Oh, man.
Oh, she's meant to be a socialist, and she's voting
She's a clown, man.
She's voting for Hong Kong democracy, and she's voting for sanctions on Xinjiang, and she's meeting up with Bolivian fascists.
She's never been a socialist. She's
an absolute clown.
Extreme left liberal. Like she's one of them liberal. She's literally a fucking democratic socialist in the sense that she doesn't want any form of actual socialism and never has. She only uses the buzzword socialism because she knows that it riles up the right wing of Americans, and they then attribute that term to her, which she doesn't see as offensive. But it's offensive to actual socialists because she's a fucking liberal, and the fucking right wing doesn't know what the fuck. They call everything fucking communist, don't they? The right wing don't know what the fuck they're talking about. So that's why when you hear her called a socialist, it's normally just because Americans have attributed that to her, which is again wrong as always.
Yeah,
I think she's definitely been lined up for a shot at president though. Yes, Queen 2025. Go on, Harrison.
No,
it's not really easy because
I was just gonna say, I'm thinking out loud, but I think the UK. Sorry, if you want to speak. I was just going to say sorry.
Go on, Harrison. You go first.
No, I was just going to say that I think like if the UK's alliance with America is probably the worst thing possible for our working class. Like I just think like what we're looking at kind of American, like their news kind of infiltrates us and like our working class, and like you see a lot of the working class here kind of fall into that kind of reactionary type of thing that you see Trump voters fall into, or that you see the American kind of thing because it's so online. Or I don't know, just for example, like I don't know how to explain it. You know what I mean though? Like I think
I know what you mean.
We take a lot of influence from kind of their kind of fucking politics, and obviously we would never accept. At least I think we would never accept kind of a privatised healthcare. But at the same time, like
it's being snuck, isn't it? Softly. I said this earlier on in the show. It is getting better. private healthcare prices coming down, and they've made the NHS so inefficient it doesn't make sense to like wait 6 months to see a dentist when you can pay £5 more to see one privately that week.
Yeah,
you know what I mean? So they are trying.
Yeah,
so they're doing
trying.
as well. It's a plan of this American expansionism of their sort of medical companies. But I have a good idea. Like, if Biden ever does anything like stupid to China can just release those like videos of him like sniffing girls' hairs and like doing weird shit.
But they would never do that, would they? They would never do that because they're too scared to do that. The media,
That's one of us. Just keep posting Biden being a creep, and or Kamala Harris talking about at the debates attacking Biden for banning busing, doing segregated busing.
Exactly. China have so much fucking ammunition.
Yeah,
it's just whether they will use it. Like, at least internally, they should use it. Like, but will they? Who knows?
Everyone make WeChat accounts and spread Biden memes.
I think I actually will do that.
What's this? Check out some Biden memes.
No, like as Tamer said, go on Weibo and just show videos of Biden being a massive creep on Chinese social media.
They did that throughout Trump's presidency anyway. Probably will happen.
He doesn't care because he's like, I'm a creep. He admits it. But Biden, like Democrats, are like, no, we're normal. We're just pedophiles, but under down.
It does scare me though with Biden, where he was talking about the we'll just fly the planes through their no-fly zone anyway. Who cares? Like that kind of fucking attitude. I don't know. I don't think Trump was like that, but that kind of attitude is quite scary. I don't know.
Don't forget Joe Biden was in the room when they murdered Osama bin Laden.
Yeah,
sat there commanding this, so he's used to this sort of intervention. Obama, he was Obama's vice president, and Obama was like memed about for being a drone addict.
He voted yes on Iraq, I think, twice.
So, I mean, even Bernie Sanders' foreign policy is literally to drop bombs. So to even expect anything less from
it's ridiculous, isn't it? Like they are so much further right than even the fucking UK, which is like it's not an example to look up to, is it? The UK,
exactly.
But it's.
Anyone else? What do you say there, Tima?
Yeah, because we need a voice about what's been going on, since the last few days from America.
Well, I think one thing I think about Biden in your respect is that ASPI might lose a bit of funding because they're not kind of technically needed now because the military companies can just go direct to US government now. They ain't got to piss around with Australia.
That is true. That's a good part. I mean, they'll have people COVID with their sort of shilling, but I doubt it because ASPI, they've been so blatant and no one cares. Yeah,
really fucking blatant. But their funding might drop because the US government might start buying weapons to attack whoever they feel like attacking. I think they might bully Syria a little bit throughout this term.
It's time for Xi Jinping to sponsor the ASPI to start shilling for the QPZ-95.
See, that's what China should do. Just pay them more money than the USA do. That would be funny.
It would be. It's all money, isn't it? Like, yeah.
Well, what was that, Sammy?
Sweden sells weapons as well.
What were you singing then? Were you singing ABBA?
No, I wasn't.
Did someone just sing?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Sammy was singing ABBA.
No,
was that Sammy?
No, I wasn't. No.
Hey.
Listen, I've got this recorded in channels, so I will definitely be able to know.
No, you don't.
Mate,
posh.
It was about 3 fucking decibels. No, 3. Never mind. I forgot the word. I forgot the word.
Yeah, you're trying to come
I've
off
drank-
across
I've
as an
drank-
expert.
I was trying to rip Sammy, but I drank too much Guinness, so it didn't work.
So I think it's funny as
Never
well that when you're watching that election last week that like the stocks, there's that screenshot that all those right-wing idiots had of the stock market, and it's like you've zoomed right in on a blip over like a minute where the yuan dropped, and then they all just jumped on it. And they go like Joe Biden. This is because China's seeing a Joe Biden presidency or whatever. It's so funny. Just and then everybody's in the comments like, yeah, this is actually good for China that it's dropped a bit. You doofus, like, you know, that's what they want. Just funny the amount of like tapped on foreign policy that comes with the USA. I think that's what I'm trying to get at. Like that obviously wasn't decided out by the US government, like, but it's the people they produce through their stupid education and stuff that come up with this crazy stuff. We've been watching, I mentioned him earlier, Tom. We've been watching quite a bit of All Gas No Brakes, haven't we, Tom? And
that sounds absolute jokes.
Yeah, you tried to get me to watch it. I was like, what the fuck is this shit, man?
Mate, if you ever want to know what America's like on like a street level, you've got to watch his channel. All Gas No Brakes.
Because my dad said he went there and all we heard it like at night. He was in LA. It was like gunshots from like a few kilometers away. He's like, what's going on? It's like, no, it's just normal.
Yeah,
like, what?
It's normal. It's normal.
Yeah. The guy gets fired in Melbourne. Like, the whole country knows about it. It's like, John gets fired in Melbourne. But like in America, it's like, yeah, people die.
It's like, how long can this carry on going on for before they actually do something about the situation politically? Because they're, like we're seeing right now, we're still a week later. There's no clear winner yet. Both sides are claiming that they're winners.
Civil War? Gotta buy your swords and guns?
I hope
Civil
so.
War.
I'd love to watch a civil war happening on BBC in America right now. That'd be fucking great. In the top
Well, they
20,
say when an empire's
perfect.
dying, what they've been doing comes back to roost, doesn't it? So it will. Iraq will come back. Harrison, you've got a run. Do you want to say anything before you go?
Yeah. Good night, everyone. I've got to go to bed. My mom's shouting at me, so
White pillow.
Such a good boy.
yeah, my mom will be
Well,
livid if I
Harrison.
don't sleep soon. So
You're such a good boy. Good
yeah.
night.
Have a good night, everyone. Yeah.
Right, we're going to
good
wrap
night.
this up pretty soon. Anyway.
Bye bye.
See you
See you later.
Good night, Harrison.
Good night, Harrison.
Thank you.
You guys do Remembrance Day. We're celebrating it today, and there was like this trumpet playing the last post. It was really annoying, waking me up.
Oh yeah, it's the 11th to the 11th, isn't it, today? I don't wear a poppy. I've never worn one. Fuck British imperialism.
Isn't it supposed to be Remembrance Sunday?
Yeah, but that was on Sunday, wasn't it? Just gone.
Oh, was it?
Today's the actual Remembrance Day. Yeah, the Sunday is when it happens in the UK.
I just
which is
forgot about the
bad.
whole thing.
Yeah, well, they had like that centre. They had that presentation, didn't they? I think some alt-right knobhead anti-mask guy tried to fight with a policeman there or something. Something happened. One of those anti-mask guys. But yeah, we'll wrap up now because we've been going on for nearly 2 hours. Anyone want to?
More than 2 hours.
Anyone want to add anything? We'll go down. Any final thoughts, Sammy?
Well, generally, I think this is obviously the struggle against US aggression is going to continue. The US is obviously most likely gonna go back to Clinton's State Department policies, strategies, and such. And that's really my closing remarks. I just hope, well, on a brighter note, it seems like Latin America really is prevailing. Evo Morales returned to Bolivia yesterday.
Awesome. I'm liking how you just dropped that in at the end. Zena, I've got a question for you to end up on.
Yeah,
From
sure.
what you've just sat and listened to about the farcical state of the USA and going back to the whole 5-year planning stuff that we went through at the start, do you think that 5-year plan and China's direction is strong enough to keep the USA at bay over that whole plan?
I think absolute. That's like a definite answer. Yes. because I think like the United States right now is like a dying wolf. They are not no longer.
Carry on.
They are not strong anymore.
Yes.
I mean, especially if you see the votes between the two parties, like the difference is so small, and the voting numbers is so big compared to the previous elections. So you see, like there's a lot of things, a lot of conflicts inside the country. So I mean, always is a country always like break itself like within the country instead of by outside enemies. That's kind of like a kind of a norm. So I don't think the USA has any bright future. And China's 5-year plan definitely gonna. I mean, it's not just necessarily China's 5-year plan. It's just basically that the United States is dying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
I think
my
that's
conclusion.
a brilliant answer, and I think I had to ask you that because I wanted to tie the two together, because a presidential term and this 5-year plan are the same sort of time out by a year maybe, but I think it's good to compare the two systems instead of keeping them at arm's length, because that's what America want when we're discussing China. They want it to feel alien to Westerners, when really you should be comparing it directly. Same with any country really that the West demonizes, North Korea, the Middle East, Bolivia. However, they'd like to make it seem like it's an alien system to Westerners, some evil overarching system, and it's not. I think we've proved that by going through the 5-year plan. Tima, you got anything to add?
Just shout out to Sammy's sexy accent. I don't know where it's from, but it sounds very posh.
Sammy, do you have a follow-up to that?
I've never had that compliment come from an Australian before.
Hold on, because when you look in our chat, text chat later, you'll see that Jen has said the same. She said that Sammy's got a sexy voice.
Is Sammy like from the Jordanian royal family or something?
Wow, yeah.
Well, basically, my dad was a Palestinian refugee, and I was born and raised in Jordan to a British mother as well. So they have it. My mum's like from the outskirts of London, so they have it. And I'm living in the north. I've been living in the north of England for quite a while, well, about a year or so. So it's a weird mix, really, of everything. But
you do.
I am quite flattered.
You do have stunning pronunciation, and that's coming from me, a cheeky northern monkey. And you know that Tom's a cheeky scouse.
Yeah, it would cast you as pommy posh Brit guy, Sammy, if we had a movie.
Nice. Well, that is one of the most wholesome closing statements.
What was that?
Say it again, Tim.
We'll cast you as the posh pom if we had a movie.
The posh pom.
Nice. Okay. Well, I think so.
Pom is a nickname for British person. If you didn't know that, Sammy.
I did not know that.
Yeah. In Australia, because I don't know why. I think it's because they like apples a lot.
I heard that it was because when the Brits came over to work in the prison complex, they would get a similar to redneck in the USA. They would get a sunburn on the back of their neck, and it looked like pomegranate, so they got called poms. That's what I've heard.
I just looked it up because it says permit of migration.
I've heard that as well.
Prison of His Majesty, because they're all prisoners.
Yeah, I've also heard that one. Tom, you got anything to say?
Yeah, just I think like obviously now we had the Liberals with us almost against Trump because they hated Trump and they called him a fascist, which is correct. But then they have now deserted the struggle. Now that they can go back to brunch now that their neoliberal is in charge, the one with the correct tie colour. So the fight will be harder, there will be fewer in number, and we should just all ascribe to the words of Uri Min Zokiri, the Korean state news broadcaster, which said that Joe Biden should be beaten to death with a stick because he is a rabid dog.
My God.
That's like it's gonna see his
My God. That's a Tom opinion and not a Mango Press opinion.
No, that's the Korean press, isn't it?
And the Korean press.
It's a Tom opinion. Yeah, I just share the opinion of Uri Menzakiri. I'm not saying that Mango Press necessarily does.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we've got to just clear our name. I think. I hope. I'm looking out the window for like the gunship appearing now. Yeah. Awesome. An awesome chat as ever. Thanks to everybody who's here and Harrison who's gone. I think he ran off to get his Singles Day sword.
He's got a mate.
Gone to buy a sword. Yeah, so awesome, lads. Sammy, just let the music play for like 20 seconds at the end of this. Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone. See you next time.
Good night, everyone.
Good night, everyone.
Oh, we already ended.
I was going to say good morning.
I'm waiting for Sammy to end the stream.
The end of the stream.
Right, it's ended now.